In this QDS training video, you'll learn how to add a check all that apply type question. For questions where respondents will be able to choose more than one response, you'll use a data element with a check each response type. So you'll start out by selecting the data option from the element toolbar, and then in the text of question box, you'll put in your question. For example, here we have, which of these types of fruits do you like to eat? Now, for our variable name, we'll go ahead and use fruit. And for the variable label, we'll have fruits like to eat. Next, you'll want to go to the response type box where you're going to go ahead and check the nominal check each choice, several down. After you've done that, you can go to the Response Set tab to set your options for that. Once again, remember, this is the last tab. You'll start out by selecting that Add line and go ahead and hit Enter, and that'll open the Check Item box. You'll see here in the upper left corner the variable name suffix, and that by default lists the letter A. This will be used as the letter suffix for this specific check each variable. Note that each check each choice has its own variable, which is called a component in the save data. Then in the description box, you're going to enter your text for the choice that will appear. And we're going to call this first choice apples. We'll go down and we're going to enter a second choice of bananas and say OK. And then we want to continue adding our choices. After you've completed adding all of your choices, it'll look like this. You'll notice that the options for value if checked by default is 1 and value if not checked by default is 0. Generally, you will want to keep these at their default settings. Make sure that you look at whether or not special codes should be allowed, and if any of these should not be allowed, go ahead and uncheck those options. The last option that it is good to take a look at on this tab is the If None Checked branch here up at the upper right corner. This is set to default for element. If you do not want to allow the respondent to make no choices at all and then be able to go forward, then you're going to want to change that default setting to the very last selection, which is disallow. However, if you do make that change, you may want to consider adding choices for other or none. That topic is covered in another tutorial video. After you've completed all of your selection of options, go ahead and select OK, and now you're going to see your new check each question in the element listing. To show you how this question will look on the screen, we'll use the preview feature by first highlighting that new item, and then we're going to go to Tools, Menu Option, and then Run Preview. See our video about using the preview feature for a full description. Once preview opens, you can see our question, and then you can check or uncheck any options you would like to select. And then after you click Next Question, that's going to end the preview section. Another key thing to keep in mind about check each data is that they're saved differently from other response types such as pick one. In the save data file, you are going to have the following variable names and variable labels for our example. In the variable name column, you can see we have what we call the composite variable fruit, but then we have several component variables, one for each choice that we entered. The label is similar where we have the composite label, and then for the choices, that text that we added for the choice is added on to the end of those composite labels. Now for the data file, if the respondent had selected, for example, apples and oranges, these values would be written to the data file. Since they made 2 selections, the value would be 2 for that composite variable of fruit. And then if it was a choice that was selected, such as apples and oranges, the value there is going to be 1. For the choices that were not selected, such as the B choice, which was bananas, and the grapes and the kiwi choice, the last 2, those will have a value of 0 because they were not selected. Now, the last thing to always keep in mind about check each variables is that these component or choice variables are always going to be listed at the end of the data set. That's all about check each variables for this video, but to learn how to add additional types of responses, see QDS Online Help or other Design Studio videos.